Hi, everybody. Welcome to our second Calamity Jane's Adventure Hour video blog. I'm your host, Eric Studer, and with me is my co-creator and co-host.
Hi there, this is James again.
All right. So, James, what I want to talk to you about a little bit today is what you can see on the screen is a really, really rough drawing of a couple of characters here. One of them is obviously Calamity Jane, and the other one is a character we'll talk about a little bit more detail in a couple of minutes called Clem. What I see that you're about to be doing here, yeah, there you go. You're actually drawing over the roughs in a little bit more detail. Could you talk a little bit about what's going on here?
Yeah, so before, what I had a bunch of pretty much chicken scratchings kind of laid out for ideas for how we want to set up this scene and this shot.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, what I'll do is I'll kind of put these chicken scratchings down for myself, so I understand what the
Mm-hmm.
shot, like the general staging and blocking for the shot, and how it's going to feel for me. But then, what ends up happening is I realize that they are indeed chicken scratching, and they need to be tightened up a little bit before you and I talk about them, so that way you can decipher my weird, strange hieroglyphics and actually see something that's sort of resembles humanoid characters interacting with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So
I see. That's interesting. Okay. So I see that you've got Calamity here next to Jane. Take me through a little bit about what's this. This actually is for a storyboard panel, correct?
yes, this is Jane. I wanted to make this sequence special. This is Jane's
Mm-hmm.
first time entering into Mitchell's bar, and this is
Mm-hmm.
our first time actually meeting an actual resident of Dry Gulp Gorge. And so Clem is the first person that she gets to kind of see and interact with. And so I wanted to kind of highlight a couple of things with Jane and I guess Clem as well. Jane is, she's shy but not timid. So she sees a person for the first time. She's not going to really go out of her way to be a social butterfly, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, she's also inquisitive and she wants to find out more about what this bar is about. So Clem is pretty much part of the bar as the writers kind of intended, and I'll kind of let you kind of add to that part. But yeah, I wanted to
Yeah.
make this.
Before we, yeah.
I just wanted to make this a special scene between two characters kind of meeting for the first time.
Cool. I noticed that you're not being really super specific when you going into more detail over top of your roughs. Can you take us through a little bit more about why you're not sticking strictly to those original drawings?
The original drawings were echoing before were just there for kind of a like an idea or like just a general thought as to how the staging will be for these characters. There's nothing that's going to be set in stone just yet. We'll worry
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that type of stuff, that chiseling of getting things down tight, will happen as we go into animation mode. But for now, the main thing I want to
Mm-hmm.
do is when I convey an idea of how I want the staging to be for this shot, I want to be able to convey that idea to an audience. So you
Mm-hmm.
are privy as being the first person to see that and making sure that it communicates what's happening.
Okay. 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 And this isn't the final art, is it?
No, it's not even close to final
Okay.
art, but it's just
Okay.
enough to know, oh, there's a character that looks like Jane, that must be Jane. Oh, there's another
I see.
mysterious character that looks like Clem.
I see. Now wait a second. I just saw you move a character to the other side of the screen. It strikes me that that's cheating a little bit. I mean, where is your artistic integrity
Yes,
that you
well,
don't want to redraw Calamity over and over again?
yeah, I mean, we are in Photoshop, and this is the land of non-artistic integrity for a lot
Uh
of
huh.
people,
Uh
and
huh.
I do share that as well. I just want to make sure I save as much time as possible instead of having to redraw a character over and over and over again. Photoshop
Uh huh.
has great ways of kind of using the layers palette and a way to tell a story as well as just layering an image on top of each other. You can also use it to tell sequential art.
Right.
So why not
Right.
use Photoshop for a strength that it wasn't really maybe intended to be used for years ago, but is now being more and more embraced now, which is why, not to get too nerdy with Photoshop, but you see a timeline now in the
Mm-hmm.
software, and I mean, I think they understand that this is a pretty powerful tool for all kinds of different ways of not just for image making, but also for storytelling.
And while these two positions of Calamity look similar, those are actually two different panels in the storyboard, correct?
Yeah, yes, they're two different angles, but we'll tighten that up as we as we move forward. But yeah, we went from one shot to the next angle, which is kind of more about the actual bar itself, where she can kind of lean and kind of get a drink, and kind of set up all the familiar, I don't know, familiar icons that you see in any kind of bar scene.
Speaking of familiar icons, I think it's time we start talking about Clem a little bit. Clem is yet another of our kind of strange menagerie of odd characters that exist in Dry Gulp Gorge. He's always haunting Mitchell's bar. Every time we'll go into Mitchell's bar, you always see Clem there. For whatever reason, he spends all of his time there. Clem is what he is he's a foil character, and these are types of characters that don't have a lot of depth. We're not spending a huge amount of time trying to fill out what their backstory is, and instead we mostly use them to help us understand something else about another character. So Clem will be used to set up a punchline, or he'll be used to fill in a little bit more information about what's going to happen next. In fact, what we're seeing here is you changed Clem's eye position and opened his mouth. He's actually delivering a line of dialogue to Mitchell, who we talked about in the previous video blog, justifying why Mitchell will come downstairs into the bar to interact with Calamity. I believe his line is something along the lines of, "Mitchell, you've got a customer." It doesn't have to be particularly compelling, but it justifies the next beat in the episode. And as a general rule, we probably won't spend a lot of time fleshing out Clem's character unless we get to season 20 and don't have any other stories to tell. But and so that's to a large extent what the purpose of Clem is. But by the same token, we do want to give us something to play with. And in the case of Clem, even though we won't see this character for a while, he does have a brother who will show up in Dry Gulp Gorge from time to time. And it's mostly an opportunity to play around with more gags and things of that nature. But it does give you a little bit more sense of Clem as an actual living, breathing character, rather than I think the phrase that you have mentioned before, James, is a living piece of bar furniture.
Yeah, I mean, because right now, and I think the intentions for what he needs to be used for now is just that he's a piece of bar furniture that happens to talk, and kind of breathes a little bit, and that serves a purpose for what we need for now. But I know that you had some plans for him maybe later. If it's season 20, I don't.
I think Clem is to a certain extent our homage, and Calamity Jane is filled with these types of things to genres and TV shows and whatnot that we really like. And every Western, there's a scene where the hero walks into a poorly lit bar and you see a poker game being played in the back corner, and eventually a bar fight or a shootout occurs when someone is accused of cheating. Our version of that is Clem alone playing solitaire.
Yes.
He's always playing solitaire in Mitchell's bar.
So he's kind of a pacifist compared to other versions of these rugged barfly type characters. There's nobody to fight with.
Well, unless he beats himself up, which is maybe not out of the question. I don't know. Maybe he's a self-loathing solitaire player. He regrets not playing that ace when he had the opportunity. But yeah, so I think that about wraps it up for me. Do you have any other closing comments before we let our audience get back to their everyday lives?
Yeah, I want to make sure not to take up too much more of our audience time, but just a minor technical piece of software I also wanted to bring up and give a shout out to, which is I'm using also another program called Storyboarder that marries itself with Photoshop, but we can get into that in probably another video.
Okay, great. That sounds exciting. I'm looking forward to talking about that, and I don't mean that as flippantly as it came out. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. This is Eric Studer. Thanks for watching with us.
All right, and this is James Jacob, and thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, well, until next time.
Until next time.
See you later, James.
Bye.
Yep. Bye.